All right. Well, I think we will get going. It's just after 11, and we have a packed day of content. My name is Allison Hahn, and I'm the Executive Director for Grow North. Hopefully you are all familiar with us, but we act as the networking convener, resource aggregator, and connector for all food and egg startups in MIN. If you haven't checked us out before, please look at our website. We have tons of resources. We have a navigator if you're looking for particular help. And we are always happy to connect with individual startups and figure out how we can help you advance your venture. Today we have a packed agenda, so I want to get going right away. As we look at the agenda on the next slide, we'll have a very brief introduction that I'll be providing, and this is only a few slides, mainly to frame up exactly what we will and will not be talking about today. And I'm going to blaze through that because I'm certainly not the content expert here, so I'm going to leave it to those who are. And we'll go straight into our platform discussion, led first with an intro about Amazon, and then a couple of local shops we have, Frank and Ernest, Barn to Door, and then a store locator called Nearest You. After that, our friends at the Minnesota Department of Ag will be given a brief update on their cost sharing program. So for everyone online, if you are interested in getting on an e-commerce platform, then they have dollars available to help make that happen. So really wonderful joint partnership we have with them and them sharing that program. And then we'll get into the meat of digital marketing strategies from our friends at JT Mega. They'll be sharing a more in-depth look on some of the top things you need to know. And then we do have a couple of local startups online who will be sharing some of their experiences, why and why they either went to an internal Shopify on their own site or they've used e-commerce platforms and how they made those decisions, and then some Q&A at the end. As we move next into a few housekeeping things, please remain on mute during the presentations. If we hear background noise, we will mute you. So please be courteous to everyone on the call and we'll be able to hear clearly everything that's going on. As you have questions on content, please type them into the chat box and we will aggregate those questions and ask at the end of each segment. And there will be a broader Q&A at the end after startups share their experience. And then we will be sending out afterwards kind of a review of what we talked about today with links and descriptions of all the resources we're sharing. So you will be able to get a hold of that information. And this is being recorded and will be shared on the Grow North website. All right, so without further ado, I am going to jump into it. I'm not the guru, I'm just here to frame it up. So what is e-commerce? Hopefully you all have a fairly good idea, but it's basically different business models that we can differentiate it into three main categories: what types of products are sold, who they're sold to, and where those products are sold on. When we go into the next on what types of products are sold, today we're mainly talking about physical products, so food and ag, products that makers have done or these companies are selling. When you think about who they are sold to, there's two channels that can be used here. B2B, which is business to business. So this may be more relevant to agricultural products, but they may be sold to other businesses that use them as ingredients or build off them themselves. B2C is the meat of what we'll be talking about today, business to consumer. These companies are selling their physical products to consumers, and they could be retailers, it could be on e-commerce, but I'm sure all of you are doing that right now. So you're trying to grow your business by selling to a broader consumer base. And then we think about where these are. Some people stick to their branded e-commerce store, which is really just your website. So it's your own landing page, you sell your own products, and you may use Shopify or BigCommerce to facilitate that. And this is often recommended just because you have total control over who, what, where, when, and how your products are seen, sold, pricing, and all of that. The meat of today is going to be on e-commerce marketplaces or platforms. And so this is a way for you to sell an external marketplace, such as Amazon, Thrive, or more local ones, like we'll be talking about with Frank and Ernest and Barn to Door. And this is where they essentially are controlling the foot traffic, but you have to abide by their rules and pay for that placement. So the example that's given oftentimes is like renting a space in the mall. So whether it's you have your standalone store, whether you rent a space, you're going to have perks and benefits to either or. And then the last piece, which is kind of a new thing, is conversational commerce. Since social media is such a huge part of everyone's lives and in reaching your consumer, I'm sure everyone scrolled through Insta and seen the shop now. And so it's a way to help drive traffic. So we'll be talking a little bit later in the digital strategies about how to use your social media to drive traffic effectively. But again, today we'll really be focusing on the marketplace and platform. So as we move forward, it is recommended all businesses should have or need their branded e-commerce store where you can control everything as mentioned. But after that, it's up to everyone to decide which marketplace or platform is right for them and their products. And that will be the first half of this webinar. We'll be talking about a few different platforms, and there are many more we're not talking about. So it's really up to each individual business to figure out where their products are best put. And then the second half, as I mentioned, will be on that digital marketing strategies. So that is the very high overview, and we're going to get right into it. As I mentioned, platform marketplace is the bulk, and we are going to start today with Amazon, which is going to be presented by Indy Do Good. I'm going to have Susan Otten take over. She's the founder and CEO of Indy Do Good, and they champion and support entrepreneurs who do good. Their services include shipping and warehousing, design and production, and marketing and sales development, including Amazon. They're kind of the gurus on it. So that's why Susan is here today to help us navigate and learn more about it. So I will have you take it away, Susan.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much. And hi, everybody. We're all so experienced in Zoom now. So this is what used to be weird is now the norm. So this is great. I wanted to start from a strategic perspective because a lot of times Amazon is something that at least the entrepreneurs that we work with seem to really want to jump into. And I want to pause a little bit, slow it down, and think of it from a strategic point of view. And really think, where does it fit in your strategic plan or your strategic vision? But wait, we're entrepreneurs. So next slide. This is really what your strategic vision probably looks like if you're an entrepreneur, because you're nimble and adaptable and you grab opportunities and you flex and you know go where you need to. But still you have to understand where Amazon fits in all of that, because it's big and it's complex and it can be very, very powerful, both in a good way and a bad way. So we want it to be in a good way. So let's make sure we understand Amazon and go into it really with eyes wide open. Next slide. So just to give you a little perspective, we are entrepreneurs ourselves. We've been in business less than 4 years. We bought a failed Amazon reseller to start out. And what that gave us was a warehouse, an amazing team, the warehouse management system to support entrepreneurs, but we still are operating as an Amazon reseller. So it gives us that personal hands-on experience. I have merchants that support our Amazon business. We actually have 3 employees that touch Amazon from a merchant perspective. And then we have our warehouse, and a lot of people touch Amazon from a warehouse perspective. And we're also a consultant to some of our entrepreneurs that want to get into Amazon or want to get into Amazon in a better or bigger way. Next slide. So the first thing is really, is Amazon right for me? And that's a really big question. And again, most of the entrepreneurs we talk to, they believe that's the way to sell. A fair number of them think it's the only way to sell. And I think you really need to understand your customer to see if Amazon is right for you. Because Amazon, it really, we'll talk about how big it is and how important it is, but it really doesn't make a difference if I like Amazon or don't like Amazon. What matters is if my customers do. And if I have products that make sense there, then my customers will find me there. You also have to go into it, like I said, eyes wide open. And who's your competition? Not in general, but on Amazon, because competition is different in different marketplaces and in different shopping venues. And so you have to look at who the competition is, what is their price, what is their storefront and their products look like, their collections, their experience in their stores. So lots to look at. Let's go to the next slide. So, and when should I really use Amazon? The timing of that. Well, first of all, and if you hear nothing else from me today, hear this one. Don't go on Amazon until you have registered your trademark, your brand. Don't do it. Don't go there. Don't give excuses. I'm going to do it next week, next month, you know. I can give you an example of one of the entrepreneurs that we support. It's called Park and Diamond. You can go search Amazon right now and find it, Park and Diamond helmet, not their helmet. They make a cool bike helmet that looks like a baseball cap. It's collapsible, folds up, and fits into a water bottle. The one you see on Amazon, not their helmet, but they're not patented, or they're patented, but they're not trademarked. And they don't have a presence on Amazon. They don't have a brand presence there. So they're fair game. Shame on them. And we told them so. So you got to make sure that you have your brand protected. And then also, does it make sense to go there, maybe not with your full line of products? Maybe you have an end of life product. Maybe that's a place to be on Amazon. I talked about competition and pricing. That's really important because it is so price competitive on Amazon. If you have a commodity type product, you're going to be tweaking your price based on pennies and doing it a lot and paying labor a lot to tweak those pennies. I speak from experience. We are one of the nation's largest seller of, hang on to your hats, pool noodles. The exciting world of pool noodles and holiday garland. So, I mean, that's the business that this company was in when we bought it. And, you know, you don't walk away from thousands and thousands of positive reviews. And, anyway, but it's all based on, it's a commodity. We're tweaking pennies, So you just have to make sure you go into it eyes wide open and make sure you know who your competition is and what you should price it at and where it can help you. I tell a lot of my, the prospects and entrepreneurs that we support that it really, I like to think of Amazon as a marketing channel more than a sales channel. It's got a lot of power. We'll talk about the power that they have. Unless you're really differentiated and have a strong competitive advantage and you're not going to be competing on pennies, Amazon putting your full line out there might not be the best thing to do for your business. You have to look at total costs. Let's move on. So one thing that's great about Amazon is they have over 12 million products. They have both domestic and international sellers. In fact, international sellers, those international manufacturers are the fastest growing segment of sellers on Amazon. So the competition roadmap or footprint is changing. It's ever changing. So you have to watch. As you can't just say, oh, I'm going to go on Amazon because there's no competition out there. You have to watch it all the time because it's constantly changing. And hence the ever-growing product catalog. It's so diverse and it grows exponentially every day. So go into it, eyes wide open. Next one. The other thing is really who is the consumer that's buying out there? Because it may not be the same as a brick and mortar if you're selling through wholesale to brick and mortar stores. Might be a very different consumer out there. So you have to really do a lot of research and watch and listen. Put a test product out there and see. But it is number one by far for the consumer products search engine, way ahead of Google. I mean, people will go there to search first, exponentially more than any other search platform. 9 out of 10 consumers before they buy will price check on Amazon. So you can have a great website, you can pour a lot of money into SEO, they're still gonna go to Amazon and check your competition's price. So you better make sure that you're protected on Amazon and your brand is registered. That's the best way to protect it after you have after you've registered for your trademark or you are registered. Stand up a store, protect your brand, and then just make sure that you can compete there. Another little fun fact, and I actually did the math on this yesterday, 112 million Americans now have Prime membership. And I looked up I have a Prime membership. I mean, I'd be surprised if anybody on this call doesn't have a Prime membership. And it's $119 a year, sorry. And so do the math on just their revenue from memberships. It's crazy. My calculator didn't go that high because there wasn't enough room for enough zeros, So that was pretty interesting. So also those Prime members are more active too. They spend an average of $1,400. And one thing that I think is crazy is, especially millennials, which my kids fall in that category, are ordering stuff every day. And, you know, not just, we can't consolidate our orders into one package, which Amazon doesn't matter anyway, because they're going to ship from different warehouses, different regional distribution centers, but they're just spending, spending, spending. It's very much an impulse spend. Let's move on. But kind of the point is it's really, really big. So what functionality is offered? And there's some really great things about the tools that Amazon has. First of all, one thing, some of these first ones are fee-based. So Fulfilled by Amazon, they are going to charge you not only shipping fees and things like that, but also storage fees and referral selling fee, which you get even if it's fulfilled by merchant. So make sure you understand the difference between those, and make sure you really understand the fees and stay on top of the fees. That's the other thing. The fees can change without notice a lot. And so just be aware. Also, Amazon offers ads within the platform. And especially if you have competition, you have to be aware of the ads and look around at your competition's ads and see what they're doing. Because again, you have to compete there. So that's pretty much it for fee-based stuff. The rest of this is they don't charge for. So you'll get some performance reports. You have a Seller Central is really the dashboard of what's going on. You're able to manage pricing and manage your inventory, so you can see all that information. Your brand registry is free, which is great. You want to make sure you're standing up a brand registry, again, to protect your brand and your presence on Amazon. And then A+ content, we're going to talk about that. I've got some images to show you, but that's also free to be able to do enhanced images and more details on your product to increase the traffic. So they have a lot of cool tools, and they change all the time. So be aware of it. So here's the A+ content I was talking about, and here's our pool noodles. And so adorable pictures of children playing in the water, you know, who doesn't love that? You have I just did a variety of screen grabs here. This has got big, long, giant scrolling page. Great pictures, colorful pictures of our lovely, colorful noodles. And then you can do more product information too. So this is just a snippet to get an idea. You can go out and do a search on pool noodles and look at our pool noodles, and you can kind of get an idea of this A+ content. But all this is free, except you have to create the content and, you know, stand it up there, so your labor. But they do have some pretty interesting, and this is one thing, if you're going to have a presence on Amazon, be sure you do this, because this is another way to differentiate yourself and tell your story. So you're not just part of a commodity, kind of the herd mentality, and people just buying based on lowest price. Okay, we can go on. So this is the one thing, kind of my my view on Amazon is make sure that you have no surprises, because I don't know about you, but the cost of a surprise to an entrepreneur, especially early stage, that involves cash, can be death to an early stage entrepreneur. You just don't want surprises to happen. So make sure you really understand it. The FBA, these are the things that they are gonna charge for, you know, logistics, shipping. They do have discounted shipping rates. Returns, you know, because remember that impulse buy I was talking about? Oh, I didn't really want those pool noodles. I'm gonna just refuse the shipment and return to sender kind of thing. So, but you're responsible that for Fulfilled by Amazon, you have to keep inventory in stock, and that you market your product. They're not going to do that. They're going to do pretty much everything else. But you have to take care of keeping in stock, which is a really big bad no-no if you run out of stock. So make sure you don't run out of stock, which we actually did last week on pool noodles. So again, you're learning from our mistakes. So lucky you. Next slide. So the cost associated, again, it's going to vary. It's very dynamic. They send you your, you know, revenue, and they send you your bill. The referral fee is always part of it. These detail some of these costs. You have to also remember, even Fulfilled by Merchant, don't forget to count the cost of your labor. And if you're doing the labor, that's pretty expensive labor. So you want to make sure you're counting that. I'm going to pull a little Shark Tank here now. Make sure you're paying yourself. And if you're shipping boxes fulfilled by merchant, you got to make sure that you are covering your labor cost as well. I think that's pretty much it. I think that's the biggest common problem we see with entrepreneurs, that they undervalue their own labor or don't even account for it. So make sure you don't do that. So how does Amazon integrate with my website? It doesn't. They don't play nice with other platforms. So if you sell on multiple marketplaces, so let's say you're selling at Amazon.com and Walmart.com, and you have your own website, and you were lucky to land a couple of co-ops in town, and you're talking to Target because they're here, you better have an awesome inventory management system to be able to keep track of your inventory. Because again, you don't want to run out of inventory anywhere. You don't want to run with Amazon. So you want to make sure that Amazon and everybody else's inventory pulls are being reflected in one platform so that you can manage it effectively. Next slide. So how tech savvy? I don't think you really need to be technical. I think you need to be diligent and patient. I think you need to spend a fair amount of time and carve out a fair amount of time to make sure that you're understanding it. Amazon Seller Central, that's really your portal, your lifeline. If you don't understand it, ask someone and find out. It'd be worth, the cup of coffee or the consulting fees to make sure you understand Amazon Seller Central inside and out, because it is your lifeline. Need to be pretty proficient in Excel, be able to manage your COGS, your cost of goods sold, because it will be different on Amazon. It'll be different on every channel that you sell at. So make sure you understand that. And because that price competition, you don't want to tweak your pricing and drop your pennies too much that you're not getting the return that you want, or heaven forbid, you're not making any money selling on Amazon. And that's okay if that's what your objective was to create awareness and use it as a marketing channel, but you want to be able to make those decisions and price things appropriately. You don't want it to be a surprise. Some great copywriting is really important. You want to have keyword dense copywriting. And that might be something, if you don't have that core competency, outsource that, because that's really important on Amazon. And there is a certain amount of technical skills involved in good writing. So, and we're really, really fortunate here in the Metro that we have a lot of great agencies and freelancers that can provide these kind of services if you need help there. Time, you need time. Amazon is hard. Amazon is hard to do, and it takes, again, you need patience and you need a lot of time. And then, oh, did I mention it? You need time. You need more time. You're going to underestimate the amount of time it takes to really be successful on Amazon. But again, it's worth the time that you spend there. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. There's some great forums and bloggers out there that have information, and you can get some dialogues going with people. So make sure you engage in those. I think one great way to start is just to listen, to read the blogs, read the forums. If there's discussions going on, don't jump in right away. I don't know about you, but I don't like feeling stupid, but you can learn so much by, again, other people's mistakes and what they've learned. So, and it's a great way to build a network and a community too, which I know entrepreneurship can be a little bit lonely sometimes. Next slide. Okay, again, they don't play nice with other marketplaces. There's no integration or interaction. You can do ads and point people to Amazon, but even on Amazon, this is one thing too. When you sell something, you don't get that customer's email address or cell number to communicate with them. So you have to work through the Amazon communications tools. If there's customer service issues you're resolving, but it's a big bad no-no even to try to put something. If you're doing fulfillment by merchant and you want to put a little card in there that says, "Hey, next time order from my website," If that package gets returned to Amazon by mistake and they find out, they will shut you down. So you got to play by their rules. They have rules for a reason, and you got to play by their rules. So, see, next one. So just a quick little bit about us, and Allison mentioned this at the beginning, but I wanted to let you know that we do a whole lot more than Amazon. So we do fulfillment, and I have yet to meet an entrepreneur whose core competency is shipping a box. So if you know of one that's their core competency, you let me know, because I keep saying that no entrepreneur should be shipping their own products. It's just, we have better rates. We aggregate a bunch of entrepreneurs together. The Park and Diamond guys that I mentioned, they had a $3.1 million crowdfunding campaign. We put it out for a proposal with the major carriers. So last I checked, early stage entrepreneurs aren't reaching that $3.1 million revenue threshold very easily. They'll ship over 30,000 units, so we can get some great prices that way, even internationally. So if you have an idea and don't know how to actually produce it, you have a killer idea that's going to solve a lot of problems and relieve a lot of pain in a segment of the market, we can help you develop that. So from prototyping, 3D modeling. And another thing that I'd like to help entrepreneurs develop their skills at, and we can help here, is negotiation. If somebody says it's costing $10 and you pay $10, shame on you. You have to ask for a better price. I just did it. I sent an email last night. That price was too much. I haven't calculated the percentage yet, and I'm not really a big math person, but I'm pretty sure I got about 25% discount by sending it was a 2-line email. But it took me 30 seconds to write that. And, I had a call right before this, and I got a discount. So ask, except of course, unless you're negotiating with me, then you're not going to get it. But you just want to make sure that you're trying to get the best value for where you're spending your money. So, and with supply chain, because you're going to build a lot of products over time, that can really end up being a lot of money. And a cost improvement too, which I always think is a funny term. My husband's an engineer. You're improving the cost. You're taking costs out, so you get more margin, and your customers maybe can buy for a few pennies less. And then marketing, we do all the marketing stuff. My world is marketing and communications and sales, and we can help with that. So next slide. Well, I guess we're doing Q&A at the end. I just want to remember that you can think of us as the easy button. We can help entrepreneurs in a lot of ways, and if we can't provide the service, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I know a lot of people, so we can probably hook you up with somebody who can help you out.
Great, thanks, Susan. This is Jason Robinson from AURI. We've got a couple questions that I wanted to pass along to you in a very short order. The first was really around, what is the best way to navigate the complex setup process for Amazon in order to minimize surprises and issues?
That's a great question. I wish I would have. Tell me who that is, and I'll send them the check in the mail, or I'll Venmo them. That's a better way to say it. That is really, really important. And if you're inexperienced with Amazon, you've never done it before, my best advice would be probably hire somebody for that setup. I mean, you can do it, and you're gonna have to not only do the best that you can by listening to forums and getting advice. Look at sites that you think are doing a good job, but you don't really know. You can look at once you're on Amazon, you can look at Seller Central and see some information on other sellers. But it's just, it's so important. And if you're not doing it right, you do it and then you watch and test, and then you tweak, and then you watch and test. It can be really time consuming. And believe me, we don't have it figured out 100%. We even talk to consultants and figure out ways to make it better. So it's probably not the advice you want to hear as an entrepreneur, but I think that would be money well spent.
Great, thanks, Susan. We're gonna stop there so we can stay on time. I know there's some other questions in the chat, and we will circle back to them at the end. But we will move on to Frank and Ernest. And Frank and Ernest will be presented by Libby Wyrum, who's one of the founders of F&E Markets. Her current work is centered on developing opportunities for local food makers and farmers to sell more in the upper Midwest. She works to empower communities to buy local through in-person farmers markets and retail pop-ups and tapping into smart technology and fun promotions. And so she is going to take it away and share about Frank and Ernest. Go ahead, Libby.
Hi. Thanks for having me. First off, thanks for having me. Okay, so I wanted to say the first thing that we do is we consider ourselves a Twin Cities virtual farmers market. We're really specific to the Twin Cities right now. We hope to expand, but our goal is really in making Twin Cities customers very happy. And our focus is on food and farmers. So we call our site a one-stop customer shop, and with so many products, so we've got thousands of products, dozens of sellers, customers have a full online grocery experience. We see, which is unique, an average cart size of about $60. And this is in comparison to a traditional in-person farmers market at about $15. We know with COVID, people are spending a bit more, but we also know with online grocery experiences, people are menu planning, they're browsing, they're getting to know the stories of the sellers, and they're committing more heavily with their dollars. And we've found this time and time again. One of the things that's most exciting is that as a longtime farmers market manager, we always questioned data and said, well, we didn't have any, or it was difficult to get. And this is actually a fantastic way for farmers and food makers to really get to the root of what their customers want and how they're buying. And share those stories that they maybe didn't have an opportunity to do during that 30-second interaction at a farmer's market. Next slide. Our customers are local foods advocates. They're looking to get foods responsibly during COVID times. And then we also know that online grocery is here to stay. And we see this in about we see this in our 91% customer retention rate from week to week. And then we're also seeing it in the ways that we can really make that connection to that customer. So it's great, a customer can buy something on Sunday, and then a seller can go ahead and contact them on Monday and see how it was. Are they enjoying it? Here's a recipe. This is what I have on sale for next week. They can build out their newsletters, their emails, and their social media profiles because of the fact they've got this really great experience with the customers, and the customers are seeking that out because they're not getting it in a traditional farmer's market. So we also know that we're seeing, again, we're seeing mostly farmers and food makers, but we're also adding in a lot of caterers and chefs. There's a lot of pivoting going on. And we know that with that pivot comes things like meal kits. We've got a lot of interest in developing out things like catered items. So thinking about, the ways that you can take that charcuterie board for the holidays and turn that into a family night opportunity. So next slide. The site has functionality to allow for customers to select from pickup at your preferred location, doorstep delivery, shipping, and we're having lots of fun with our drop days. These are hybrid pickup opportunities where the sellers can drop off pre-sold product and then the customers collect it in a contact-free drive-through. We're primarily doing this in Linden Hills because we want to make sure that we're connecting with a known audience, and we understand Linden Hills because I've been running that farmer's market for a long time. And we with that, we try and make it as fun as possible, and also try to make it as fast as possible in order to reduce exposure to COVID, but also to support customers in getting in and out. Above all, this is about efficiency. And also, just to be clear, it's also a great time saver for sellers because they can drop off product. They don't have to hang around in a vendor. As a vendor, they don't have to pop a tent, and they also don't have to prepare product for an unknown audience. Everything that they bring to that drop site is already sold. So sellers, do you list product? Do you have your own profile, which is basically works as a storefront? It includes all your products. You can have a contact button. You can include information about your Instagram, your Facebook, and then you can also include things about your business. Tell your story there. And really, you actually have quite a lot of space. And that's also a unique address, so you can share that on your social profiles. And then you're notified immediately of sales. And you get paid upon delivery. We have an order window for the drop days, that's Monday through Thursday, but because of the customizations, you can do your own doorstep deliveries. You can also do shipping. And then just like customers, your tech support is right here in Minnesota. So that's me, that's Katie, who's my partner in this, and we offer coaching and webinars too. So, and I've pretty much a bi-weekly newsletter that includes lots of tips, techniques, and then we also go through when your products go live. We make sure that or before they go live, we make sure that we optimize them to make it really clear to customers what you're selling, why you're selling it, and how best to get it. And then last slide. We do much of the heavy promotional lifting for you. We're professional marketers, and the real benefit of our multi-vendor site, which is a lot like Etsy, we call it Etsy, is that the collaborative selling drives traffic in ways you can't get from your own store. Because we are local and understand the marketplace, we keep our costs really low and simple. So we don't need, the 20 minutes that Amazon does. Really, it's very simple. So there's a $45 yearly membership fee, and that reviews your permits, insurance, and tax forms. And then today, for you all that are listening, there is a great selection on the membership form for $30, and that'll be good for the next week. And then we also have a 5.6% commission, and that comes back to F&E. And then our fees for credit cards are 2.9% plus a 30-cent credit card fee. And we keep it very simple. A lot of the folks that we're working with are new to sales, new to online selling of any kind. And so we're really trying to keep things simple and easy, and you get a lot of support with our online platform. So, questions?
It looks like there are a few questions in the chat. It says, please define in-store pickup delivery option. Is in-store in reference to our own storefront? If so, what are the geographical limits? Their business is in St. Cloud.
No, I actually meant if you have your own storefront. So you would sell on the site, and then we have customizations on the site that allow you to identify those locations for pickup.
Another one was, do you have social enterprises selling on your platforms?
Yeah, that is. So I should also say that, one of the things that we found with the site, we really did pivot quickly. So we got it up and running in March. And a lot of the aspects of our site were built out after we loaded it up by the app developers. So we're actually in the process of developing our own site. And then we're gonna launch that this fall. So there's gonna be a lot more customizations. It's gonna be a much stronger profile, and it's going to include a lot more bells and whistles, especially when it comes to social.
All right, there's another question on how many vendors you currently work with.
So right now we've got over 200 vendors, sellers on the site. We're taking on anywhere from 10 to 15 a week. And that's what we can manage in terms of onboarding right now. And then we've got, I think, over 2,000 products on the site.
Gotcha. Can you use a Cottage Foods license to sell on this site or not?
You can. So you can do pickup and you can do doorstep deliveries through the site.
And will you be continuing year round?
We are. So we're looking at some different things. So right now we're encouraging sellers, if you haven't thought about doorstep delivery, do that. There's a lot of freedom in that. And then also we're going to continue with our drop days, certainly in Linden Hills, but we're also looking at some other neighborhoods that we think have the density to manage it.
All right, there was a question around advertising and how your advertising works.
So we have a few ways that we do it. So we do obviously a lot of social media stuff, really specific right now to Linden Hills, because we're trying to get a real clear understanding of our base before we go out and start spending a lot of money on advertising in other neighborhoods, and making sure that we've got a very slick setup. And then we have a promotional package that we're about to roll out. So there's going to be some enhancements and some upgrades to membership, and there'll be some great ways for you to do flash sales and for some opportunities around enhanced promotions on the homepage.
All right, well, I'm going to cap you there. There are a few more questions in chat if you would like to go in and answer those as they come in. Tom Vance was generous and put in your website there as people I think are interested in signing up. But we will move on to our next presenter, Barn to Door, which is helping farms sell direct online. And we have Mackenzie here to share about that. So Mackenzie, I'm going to have you take it away.
Hey guys, thanks Allison. Yeah, so my name is Mackenzie. I have been with Barn to Door for about 2 years. And we, as a company, have been around for about 5 years. We're actually the largest e-commerce provider that's serving specifically farms in the country. So you might say we're a little bit like Shopify on steroids for farmers. So if you want to go to the next slide. Essentially, what we do is, we're actually a full service solution. We build out custom websites for farms. We can also integrate with your current website if you have one that you really love. And we create a shopping experience where your buyers can literally shop directly from your farm for local fulfillment. And we want to make sure that those buyers are able to shop from you through every channel. So I think Allison had mentioned this earlier, a little bit about, being able to shop from social channels as well. So we make sure that not only is the shop integrated through your website, but also is integrated through mobile, social, your email, newsletters as well. We also design custom newsletters through MailChimp. So just really making sure that wherever your customers may be interacting with you, they also have a place to shop and have a really clear call to action. If you want to go to the next one. And because of Amazon, this is definitely connecting again. Buyers have an expectation of convenience. They are used to shopping from billion-dollar brands that pour billions of dollars into their e-commerce solutions. And we want to be able to offer that same experience to your farm. So your buyers will be able to go in and create a really easy self-service order of any of your farm products, whether that's, vegetables or proteins, any value added products, anything like that. And we also support wholesale buyers. So you'll have a separate store for not only your retail buyers, but also a store for your wholesale buyers, whether that's chefs or grocery stores. And there's also a private pricing sheet as well. Your buyers will get an automated receipt. You can create automated invoices as well. And they'll get a reminder 24 hours before a pickup or a delivery. And with that, we offer multitudes of fulfillment options. So you can do door-to-door deliveries, you can do pickups, whether that's pickup at the farmer's market, pickup at your farm store. And then we also do offer shipping as well, if that's something that is interesting to you guys. There is order cutoff dates, so you'll be able to, give yourself due time to harvest. And you can also add in any delivery fees if you are doing door-to-door delivery. We also support variable weighted items if you're selling, maybe broccoli by weight, or also selling, pastured chickens or beef or anything like that. Go to the next one. And what we've seen working amazingly well in our platform is subscriptions. Buyers are so accustomed to doing subscriptions. For instance, Amazon Prime subscriptions, Netflix subscriptions, and people aren't going to stop eating. So why not, create a subscription for your farm products? We see our farms that are offering subscriptions are seeing about an 80% of their revenue guaranteed from month to month. And what's nice is it's super convenient for your buyers. They just go in one time, they, place their order, and then they're billed week after week, month after month, however you want to set up your subscriptions. They're very customizable. And then you guys are going to have the security of the cash flow as well. So subscriptions are awesome. If you go to the next one. And we also really want to make sure that this is saving your farm time. So, a couple things in here. In your Barn to Door account, you're going to have, all of your marketing, all of your orders, all of your route management in one spot. So there's one-click sharing to social media to be able to share your products with buyers. When your buyers click on an item that you've shared to social media, it will take them immediately to that item in your store for purchasing. So really great for conversion, as well as your buyers. They're able to actually share their purchases on their social media too. So it's a little bit of free marketing, which is great. I mentioned an integration with MailChimp. That's going to be a really awesome emailing service that we've helped farms with on email campaigns. I think Valerie, who is speaking about Barn to Door, she can definitely touch on this a little bit later. She uses MailChimp super well. And, with order management, the huge time saver here is going to be the pick and the pack list. So if you have a day where you're doing deliveries or pickups or anything like that, you're going to be able to download a pick list, which is going to give you an aggregated total of what you need to harvest that day. And then your pack list is going to give you a breakdown of, what's going to what buyer, at what location, whether that's pick up on the farm, maybe a door-to-door delivery, maybe shipping. We do some integrations with taxes and QuickBooks. And then finally, if you are doing door-to-door deliveries, which we see farms having a huge success with, buyers are used to door-to-door deliveries, so definitely recommend it. You can actually integrate with a route management app that will create a super efficient route for you to get your deliveries done quickly. So go to the next one. Thank you. And the best part of all of this is that you have an entire team of people to help you out. Like I mentioned, we are the largest e-commerce solution for farms in the country. And so with that, we just have a lot of support that goes into it. We'd never want to throw you out there and have you figure it out on your own. We want to make sure that you have as much support as you need going forward. So you're going to get a farm onboarding manager who works with you for the first couple weeks to get everything up and going. You'll actually get a graphic designer to design you a custom website as well. It's all included in the cost. And then from there, you'll actually get a farm account manager after you're done with the onboarding process, who will meet with you on a monthly basis. They'll go over any analytics. They will give you a report card, a quarterly report card on kind of your progress and your successes on the platform. And they'll also work with you on marketing and kind of the best practices for that, pricing, packaging, all that good stuff. And then there is live chat support. So you'll get live chat support for yourself as the farm. And then in some of our tiers, you can also elect to get chat support for your customers that we actually staff on your behalf. So super nice. If you want to go to the next one. Our pricing structure here, we have a few different tiers. Some of them are based on order volume and some of them are based on support. We can definitely, discuss on a farm to farm basis. So I believe there's going to be some information going out later with our contact information if you want to contact us. But what I'll talk about is our most popular tier, which is the business tier. With that, you'll get the web store, a custom website if you'd like it, and the chat support not only for yourself, but also for your buyers. We have a one-time setup fee that goes into, setting up the website, getting all of your products up, deliveries, fulfillment, and also training you guys on how to use the platform. And then we have either monthly or annual payments available to you. So yeah, that's what that looks like.
Great. Thanks, Mackenzie. We have a couple questions in the chat, and we've got about 2 minutes before we have to move on, so we'll get to what we can. Joan asks, what is the geographic area of sellers and the geographic area of buyers that your platform services?
Yeah, so we actually work with farms all across the country. So we work with thousands of farmers and have millions of page views a day. So I believe we work with farms in 48 states now. It might be 50, but yeah, we have a lot of data compiled from farms across the country.
That's great. Another question is, do you work only with farms? Gwen owns a bakery, and some of those functions and features could work real well for her. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. We do normally just work with farms, but we do work with some producers that are doing artisan products. So I encourage you to just reach out to us and we can see if it might make sense for you.
Great. And final question from Haley is whether or not is the proprietary software you developed and what platform is it hosted on, if you can share that information.
Yeah, it is our proprietary software. So we completely built out our software from scratch for the e-commerce solution. For websites, we do build our websites on Squarespace and integrate the e-commerce solution into that.
Great. Thanks, Mackenzie. Allison, I'll pass it back to you. And Mackenzie, there are a couple additional questions in the chat, if you don't mind checking in and maybe answering them there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. All right, we are going to move on to Nearest You, and Ryan is going to be presenting on this. Ryan came to the food and beverage software development via a very circuitous route from his former career as a Spanish professor at the U of M. After turning to Nearest You into a full-time gig in 2019, the company now works with over 100 emerging and established brands in Minnesota and around the US. Nearest You began as a digital mapping and management store locator service, but they now have some new tools, which I know he'll be talking about today. So take it away, Ryan.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, everybody, a lot of people already have heard of us because we're local and we've been around for a few years, and actually many on the Zoom call I can see use our services, which is awesome. I love that local Minnesota companies, even though we work with those outside of Minnesota, but that we have a really, really strong group of Minnesota companies that use it, primarily our store locator service. So the map that sits on the website for, next slide, sorry, I gotta get used to this. But so the managed store locator, right, is what people know us for. And I'll keep this part of it brief because I think it's really more about e-commerce today. And this is only tangentially related to that. But as many of you know, the store locator is really key to the website because it's the first question that you often get from consumers. I love your product. A friend told me about it. Where can I get it? And the biggest challenge has traditionally been keeping the store locator up to date so that when a consumer goes to the store, that it says on the website that there's actually product on the shelf there, that it's not a 6-month-old account that they haven't reordered and you just didn't have time to take that location off the map or off the list view on the site. So we really hit a sweet spot when we decided to do the management side of that, where consumers then can simply send us their data, right? And then we upload that data into the map. We don't need access to the site for any of that. We just simply push that out, usually once a month. Thanks, Bella. And so, a couple of the things to note about that store locator, as you can see here in the talking points, I won't read through all of these, but just the idea that people love maps. We use maps all the time, digital maps, but even paper maps. I'm going to be using one on a road trip shortly. I love maps. And really these days, especially mobile, right? So mobile traffic is where your website traffic is coming from, all those mobile websites or mobile devices. And what's important to note about that is that a lot of old school ways to search were by zip code. And we decided early on that what we really needed was a geolocation function. So that idea that you can click a button and the map zooms in to where you are and then shows you those locations that are nearest to you. The zip code, mobile users just simply don't know it, right? If you're not in your home, it's kind of crazy to think about, right? But if you're not in your home or your place of business, which nobody is these days, then the zip code makes it really challenging to have to input a zip code in there. And so those are the important aspects of the kind of the managed store locator. And as you can see on the bottom point there, the analytics. People have been talking about data and Libby for one. Hi, Libby, it's nice to see you again. And I love the platform, by the way. But anyway, analytics, right? Really important to understand how people are using the store locator. So we've recently just launched a dashboard where brands can log in and see on a map where people are actually searching for their products. So that's helpful because if they're putting in a zip code or they're using the geolocation button or they're putting in a city or even an address, we can reverse geocode that and then show the user or show the brand where people are searching, which provides data for a pitch to a potential retailer or distributor. So for example, you're getting a bunch of traffic in Portland and you don't have any accounts there, but you'd love to distribute in the Pacific Northwest. Well, here's some data of potential customer data that you can show the distributor or the retailer that you've got interest in those areas. And this ties in, this data ties into the next slide, Ariel. And so, so these are let's go to the next one. So that was more about the store locator. If you have questions about that, we can certainly talk more about it at the end, or you can just reach out to me. But one thing I really wanted to make sure I highlighted today was our new tool, and we're just launching it now. We have a few local brands trying it out, Angie over at Gastola and a few others actually. And so it's really fun because this product, we heard time and time again that it would be really great to better understand where those sales are happening online, right? So as we shifted to all of this in the last 6 months, and everybody is trying to get on Amazon, or they're doing so much more with their own e-commerce platform on their website, that we have launched a tool which essentially analyzes all of those e-commerce sales data reports. So you can get them on Amazon. They're under a fulfillment reports schedule. And you can also, of course, if you're on Shopify or Wix or Weebly, Squarespace, you can pull and export a file out of there of all of your sales data and where you actually shipped it. And so you can see the little mini graphic on the bottom there. That shows, for example, a brand's sales via Amazon. So they're a local company, and they've been selling on Amazon now for a year, and that put all of their data into a single spot and then shows on a heat map where those sales actually occurred. And as you can imagine, there's multiple ways that you can use this data. We found that some of the brands that are testing it right now are using it for things like geo-targeted Facebook ads. So if they know where there's a big bubble, as you can see for this brand out on the East Coast in New York and Philly, so they're running some targeted Facebook ads in the zip codes that are showing up as where those products were sent, sent by Amazon. And so that's one way. And then of course, the other way is to be able to show graphics like this to the same distributors and retailers that you might be working with or want to work with and say, look, we have actual sales in Portland and in San Francisco, in Denver, and all these other places. Hey, distributor, we would really like to work with you, and here's some data to show that. And what's nice is you can layer this data. I don't have a graphic of it, but you can, on this dashboard that we have, you can layer in the store locator searches, so those potential customers, and you can layer in this e-commerce data on top of that to really show where there are opportunity points across the country. And so you get double bubbles, like the wonderful gum. But for example, in Portland, right? So if we were to see the store locator searches bubbling up in Portland and the actual purchases via Amazon or their Shopify site, you'd see that as a real bubble and a real opportunity to push, to talk to a retailer there or a retail chain. And so that's really in a nutshell what Lumino is about. And we're starting to work with some local consultants who consult, and we definitely should chat with Indie Do Good, because these are the things that we'll be selling to them as well, so that they can work better with their clients to help them really figure out what's the best strategy going forward. Because you can also see seasonality in this dashboard, and I wish I had more slides realizing now, but seasonality and product specific stuff. So we can drill down into, oh wow, there were 15 products sold of this one flavor in Boulder, Colorado last month. Slide. Okay, yeah. And so again, very brief. I just wanted to put it all out there for you as people knew about us from the store locator world. So now we are actually moving as well into the e-commerce world. And so this is really fun. If you'd like more info, feel free to reach out and chat with us.
Thanks so much, Ryan. I don't know if anybody has questions they want to put in the chat, but I think what you're offering, the power of data is a wonderful thing. As a former scientist, I know just how hardcore that can be in terms of changing projects and changing everything for companies. So I would encourage people to really look into the power of data when it comes to making decisions and where they place their products. If you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm sure Ryan would be happy to answer them there, but we are going to move on and have Brian from the Minnesota Department of Ag join us. Now that you've listened to a bunch of platforms, he's going to talk about a cost sharing program where you can apply to get dollars to go down that journey. So Brian, I'll have you take it away.
Hey, thank you, Allison, and hello, everybody. Great to see some familiar faces and hopefully some people that weren't aware of our programs as well. As Allison said, my name is Brian Erickson. I manage what's called the New Markets Program at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, along with the extremely talented and capable Ariel Kagan, who's doing the slide flipping today. I've been in this fight, so to speak, since about 2012, 2013, but I just want to welcome Allison to this fight as well. And we relish the opportunity to be a partner with you and AURI and the rest of the people that are on this call in support of Minnesota's food community. So we're lucky at the Minnesota Department of Ag to have the resources we have to help Minnesota food companies and farms with marketing and specifically with e-commerce now. But if you'd humor me, I'm just going to go through a couple of our resources so you can see how e-commerce fits into our program suite. We have online, we have a food startup roadmap that's kind of a broad look at the resources that are available in Minnesota. We have a co-packer and a commercial kitchen list. We do marketing events, specifically Minnesota pavilions at trade shows around the country where we offer mentorship. Obviously, those things are on hold with COVID right now. And so if you want to engage in those events nationally with us, you can get in touch with me, but it's sort of on hold right now. But then specifically, moving on to the cost sharing for marketing activities, we offer two distinct cost sharing programs, one of which we call e-commerce and one is targeted at wholesale entities. Both of those programs have one goal, which is to create a competitive advantage for Minnesota farms and small food companies. And as you can see, there are eligibility requirements for both of these cost sharing programs. You have to be a Minnesota registered company. You have to be a small to medium enterprise. There are limits in how much you can claim per year. The eligible period for claims, right now we're in a program that goes from July 1 until December 31st. So if the money runs out before then, you're out of luck. But we're hoping that it will last for the entire half-year period, and that we'll be able to roll out another program on January 1. But we're going to kind of see how this goes. We aren't sure what the demand is going to be. You're eligible. If you're eligible for these programs, you can make claims anytime you have a eligible claim. So the process is entirely online now, complements of Aerial. For our wholesale cost sharing, under the kind of the traditional categories, you can be reimbursed for B2B trade shows, for walking the floor at one of our trade show events one time, and for store demos. Obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning, those events are largely on hold right now. So I'll talk about some of the new things that we offer under our cost sharing. So a lot of trade shows around the world are going virtual right now. So people are trying to make that transition. So our cost sharing will help you by sharing costs to do those virtual trade shows as a vendor. If you need to ship samples to those companies that are going to be meeting with you as part of the virtual trade show, we can help with that. And also we can help with the cost to do videography if that's part of that event. Also contracting, merchandising, and point of sale activities, which are kind of specific trade spend costs, are also eligible to be reimbursed. So again, it's a reimbursement program where the MDA will reimburse 50% of your costs after you have those costs and you submit an application with receipts. Some of the specific trade spend costs that are eligible include end cap promotions with retail chains and retail flyer participation. So if you're in Lunds and Byerly's and they have a program where they'd like you to invest in promoting your product by taking part in their flyer, you can do that and you can be reimbursed for 50% of those costs. Next slide. So one example, I just want to show you a couple examples. This would be under the virtual trade show category. ECRM is a national event organizing company, and they have an event for Center of Store products coming up in September, September 14th to the 17th. Again, this is just one example of virtual trade show. Next slide. And there you see what the costs are to participate, $3,500, which is similar to a lot of kind of in-person trade shows as far as a price point. Next slide. You can move on to the next slide. Okay. So an example of contracted merchandising, yeah, back up, sorry. So we have an example here from that Triple Crown barbecue sauce worked with a company called Insignia, which is actually a Minnesota company, to help them with their point of sale displays to help their barbecue sauce stand out in a crowded category on the grocery store shelves. And this is just a program recap from Insignia to Triple Crown Barbecue that kind of reports on the results from that activity. Again, reimbursable with our cost sharing program. Next. Another example would be Big Watt used a company called Survey.com to do kind of store audits for them, where they went out during the big stock up for COVID A lot of companies were having problems with out of stocks, et cetera. So they hired this company called survey.com to go in and audit the stores and send a report back and to refresh their displays. Next. So then moving on to our e-commerce cost sharing program. There is additional eligibility requirements for e-commerce cost sharing. Basically, we're trying to support Minnesota manufacturing through this program. So in addition to having to be a Minnesota registered company and being small to medium, you also have to have a wholesale license from the MDA. So you have to be a Minnesota manufacturer, or you have to use a co-packer in Minnesota that has that license. Or the fourth possibility would be you can have a Minnesota grown license. So that includes Minnesota farms that join the Minnesota grown program. Next slide. So for e-commerce, it's a little bit different. You use our online application form to explain your eligible costs and activities, but we did provide some examples here. Any of the platforms that have been discussed during this event today would be eligible for reimbursement, platform fees, registration, advertising, premium positioning, site setup and consulting, pretty much anything to do with e-commerce. If you're a small Minnesota food manufacturer, we will share those costs up to certain limits for those activities. That can include videography, photography. The only thing kind of related to e-commerce that we can think of that isn't eligible is equipment. Next slide. So I did some research on platforms when I was trying to become a pseudo content expert on e-commerce, and I failed miserably. I started a list of platforms, and the list is long. So I'm really happy that, again, to have this partnership where people can come together and try and help farms and small food companies figure out what the best option is for their platform needs. And I will say that we're available anytime if you have questions. I'm probably went over a lot of time already, so if we can just keep this brief, we're always available. Call us up, refer to our website, which is listed here for more details on eligibility, on who's eligible and what eligible activities will refund your money for. But again, this period goes through December 31st. So essentially e-commerce activities, if you're a Minnesota food manufacturer, on sale through the end of the calendar year. So please take advantage of it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And if you do have questions, I would direct you to put them in the chat and Brian will be able to answer them there. And now that we've kind of finished the first half of the program, we're going to turn it over to JT Mega. It's a Minneapolis-based food-focused agency, and we have 3 partners from them: Anna Brown, who does business development, Amy Dalrymple, who's a front-end developer, and Caitlin Scanlon, who's their digital strategist. And so they're going to launch their presentation and begin going through. So take it away.
Thank you. So as Allison mentioned, we're going to shift gears here pretty significantly. We are part of JT Mega. I know Amy's getting the deck up, so we'll be sharing it in just a second here. But we're part of JT Mega, which, as she mentioned, is a food-focused advertising agency here in Minneapolis. We are full service. We work with food brands across the country in all different kinds of capacities. And today we're going to be focusing really specifically on the digital strategy space. So as we're looking at a lot of conversations around different levels of entrepreneurs and different levels of brands, we'll be sharing a few different pieces that you can take away from kind of a 101 perspective against that. And we have a program called the JTM Scale that we launched recently, and actually a few years ago now. And so then that initiative is really about connecting with local brands here in the Twin Cities and beyond that. And we'd love to know, how this content resonates with you guys, because we'd love to provide more educational opportunities in the future. So hopefully this hits the mark, and we'd love to just learn how it continued to evolve to serve you guys. So with that, I'll be handing it over to Amy and Caitlin as well.
All right, does everyone see my screen? Okay, great. So like Anna said, yep, we're JT Mega. So today we're launching into this Digital Marketing Strategy 101. We're diving into 3 topics. We're going to talk about all of these more: UX, UI, SEO, social media. We'll define these as we go. There's a lot to talk about here. I know that personally, as a front-end developer, I can get really nerdy about some of this stuff. So I'm hoping I can sort of humanize it and make it more digestible for everyone. Some of you may know these things. Some of you may not know any of these things. It's okay to be overwhelmed. There's a lot of information in all of these buckets. I also want to say that these don't necessarily live alone. Like sometimes they live, you know, they can all support each other and work together really well. So starting with user interface and user experience. These basically, this is what your visitors see on your website and how they interact with you on your website. And why do we want to think about our users? Why is it important to think about how they're using our website? 60% of users, if they have a bad experience with your website, are going to be leaving. That's just, I mean, it's probably going to raise lower, maybe it's different for different audiences or demographics. But basically, if people can't find what they want on your website, if they can't find the products they need or the details they need, they can easily go and shop somewhere else online. It's not like being in person where you have everything kind of in front of you all at once. These are your options. Online, you've got a whole world available, right? So you want to make sure that your website is performing well for the people who are visiting you. So I'm going to scale it back just a moment and think about our website as if it's a house. This is a great analogy just because we're constantly building our website. It's an ongoing thing. The first thing people visit is the front door. So, you know, how do you know how to use a front door? And will your users know how to use it in the same way? Are there visual cues that tell them how they interact with it? That's the same thing on your homepage. You know, whether you have a big CTA button, call to action button, or some other sort of visual cue for them to take an action, order a thing, look at content, read more about you. There's a bunch of different things you can give them on your homepage. This is the basic of the user interface though. So this just, you know, doesn't have to be crazy innovative. Innovation is great, but I would ask you to sort of step back if you're just starting with your website. You know, what do you see on websites that you shop on or work on that you like? What works well for you? What works well for ordering things? Or what problems do you have? What frustrations do you go through? That's a worry too. There's sometimes more of those than others on some websites. So the way that your front door or your homepage is designed relates to the usability of your website. And by usability, I just mean this is how people feel when they interact with your brand or your website. This is things that could be preventing them from taking action on your website. So if there's big pop-ups or there's, you know, the buttons are really small or the text is really small, there's things that can prevent people from working well on your website. There's things that can help them take actions too. So there's good and bad both ways to think about. So you have your target audience. You know who you want using your website. You know who you've defined as who you want to sell to. What if there were more people that you're not thinking about that would also be interested in your product? People that want to come to your website, but maybe, you know, are somehow feeling excluded. This is where we can start taking a little more of a dive into usability, and it's called accessibility standards. This is where we start thinking about the users that we don't think about day to day. And this is just simple actions that you can add to your website to make it even more inclusive and broaden your target audience even more. One of the bigger audiences I think about when I think about accessibility is blind users. 2/3 of blind individuals, their transactions on the internet are abandoned due to inability to use websites. They just haven't been thought about, they haven't been considered. Their website, you know, the website they're trying to use hasn't been optimized for use on an iPhone or use with a screen reader. So that's a big audience of web demographics that some people just, you don't think about on a day-to-day basis if you're not experienced with it. I recently saw this video on Twitter, Christy Veers. I would highly recommend watching it. It's fascinating how she uses her iPhone. She actually brings up a Braille keyboard and explores some other apps. So it's really, really cool to watch, and just, it's eye-opening for sure. I also just recently saw this tweet the other day, and it's perfect. You know, when you define your target audience for your website, you say, you know, people with disabilities don't want my product, they don't need it, so they won't need to come to my website. And frankly, that's not really always true. Like, there might be people with disabilities that could be shopping for other people, or, you know, maybe they have a need that you haven't thought about. So you could be losing a large audience if you don't optimize for these folks. Disabilities also don't always relate to blindness or permanent impairments that people might have. There are temporary impairments. For instance, if someone breaks their arm, they can only use their left hand, but they're right-handed, you know, they have to switch which hand they're using their phone in. People who have lost their glasses, you know, situational limitations, if you don't have very good Wi-Fi connection or you just can't load things very fast. I think these are all important things to think about. I've got some resources on here so you can start to sort of dive into accessibility if you want to. It's a huge content area, so there's a lot to think about. A lot of this also, sometimes it can be built into your platform too, hopefully, and if it's not, a good development partner can help sort of improve these areas too. But when we start thinking about temporary impairments, even someone going from a desktop to a mobile device, we'll see your website differently, hopefully. So when we think about, step back, thinking about our front door as on our website, on our house, someone who is 6'4" versus someone who is 4'9", they're gonna look at your front door differently. The knob might be at a different height. There might be a doorbell that's out of reach or weights too low or something like that. This is kind of when we start to think about what our website looks like on mobile devices. How does it look like on an iPad? How does it look on a Chromebook? I know there's a lot of folks using Chromebooks recently. So it's important, if you haven't already looked at your website on a mobile device, definitely do that. Because just in a few months, in 2021, mobile is predicted to dominate online sales. Over 50% of online sales will be done through mobile phones. People in their beds, people on their sofas watching TV. Very realistic. I know I've done it. So very important to think about different kind of device sizes and how your website looks. I also just wanted to throw out this term responsive design. This is sort of the practice that was formulated probably about 10 years ago that helps your website look different on different devices. If your website doesn't flex and flow for different browser sizes, there are a couple simple tags that a development partner, again, or someone who might be techie on your end could add to your site to really do the bare minimum to help this along. The basics of usability testing. All I need to do for when I'm doing work, I need a second set of eyes for sure. So luckily I've got a bunch of colleagues that can help me out, but as a solo entrepreneur, maybe you have a friend or a family member that you can have look at your website with a non-biased eye. Ask them to do a task on your website, ask them to buy something, and then just watch how they do it. Don't tell them what to do, don't lead them in any way, but that's really the simplest way. And then ask them if they can narrate their experience out loud, what they're doing, the decisions they're making. That's how usability testing runs. It's really just someone talking out loud about how they're feeling about the website or how they're interacting and why. Then you can find pain points, you can find what you're doing well, things you might need to adjust. So after you think about all of this stuff and you've improved your front door or whatever, people are loving your website, they're visiting a lot, they're buying your content. I want to remind you that you can stay in contact with those folks after they leave your website, and you should stay in contact. This is building your brand loyalty. This is building, your audience. Build a mailing list. These are people who definitely want to hear from you again. Use it, send them emails, and also put your social channel links on your website and, top and bottom, wherever, just multiple places. Make sure those links are correct. Double check your links always. But that would be my sort of parting advice for the user experience of your website. Now we're going to launch into some search engine optimization, which is also a giant bucket. This is content from our colleague, John Schneider, who couldn't be here today, but we're going to try to do our best to speak in his words.
Yes, I am Caitlin Scanlon. I'm a strategist at JT Mega. So as Amy said, our colleague John Schneider, who's VP of Digital at JT Mega, put these slides together. He's kind of a guru when it comes to SEO, which is search engine optimization. So Amy and I take full credit when the slides go really well, and if something falls flat, it's definitely John's doing. So with that, let's jump in. So try to give a frank but high level overview of what search engine optimization is. I know Susan at the beginning talked a little bit about search within Amazon. We're thinking about search sort of on the internet as a whole. So of course, Google is the main player there. But the concepts we're talking about do sort of apply universally when you're talking about showing up in search. So what is SEO? SEO is not an end goal. SEO is a process. It's a series of decisions and actions and fixes, upgrades you can take to ensure your whole website, each individual website page performs well in organic search results. So it's not easy, but it's also not necessarily hard. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but this is not something that you need to understand intimately as a solo entrepreneur. It is something that a lot of platforms have a lot of tools built right in. And if you are working with a development partner at some point, they can speak really well to it and they can help with it. But it is helpful, we've found, as the owner entrepreneur, to have a basic understanding of what you're looking for with SEO. So let's jump in. So Amy pointed out, of course, when a user comes to your website, they're seeing their front door. It's kind of the first look. If you take a step back, so much traffic, so much engagement with a consumer will come for the first glances through search. So whether they're looking for you directly or looking for something that you can help with, showing up well in search, making sure you are optimized for search is going to help drive free traffic, which of course is something that we all want. So short of it, SEO increases your opportunity to show up when, where, and how your audience is looking for you and looking for what you offer, looking for whatever solution that you are offering to this customer. So of course, this is great if they know who you are and are looking for you, right? If you know, I love Angie's Popcorn, I want Angie's Popcorn snacks, I'm gonna Google Angie's Popcorn and see what comes up and see where I can find it. But if you're like, I want a sweet, salty, Minnesota made snack, that is super powerful for then Angie's Popcorn to show up in that search, even if they don't know what brand they're looking for. So it's showing up to an audience that might not know who you are, but you can solve you can fill their need, you can respond to their challenge. Of course, we're talking about organic search. We know about paid search is kind of another thing that we're not getting into, but that is often what you'll see at the top of search results is those paid search. Organic search is this powerful tool that we're getting into here. So where is the best place to hide a dead body? The second page of search engine results. Ooh, that was John's joke, but I promised him I'd say it. Okay. So most important elements of SEO. We're gonna go through these really quick. Just a reminder, we will stick around and answer any Q&A at the end, and we're gonna provide some resources, and also, again, a development partner will be able to help walk you through a lot of this. And Google or search truly is your friend. We, in our jobs, I know Amy and I constantly are Googling things about, wait, what is the best way to do this? What plugin does this do? So if this is overwhelming, just roll with it. It's not something you need to master. We just want you to be aware. So what are we have 7 things listed here. Number 1, making sure search engines, especially Google, can easily access and index your website. So of course, from a person, from a user, you see images and copy and design that's on the page, but there's all this stuff in the back end, right? How pictures are labeled, how pages are titled with copy you can't necessarily see, all these little kind of tools in the back end. And Google and other search engines, that's what they pick up on, and that's how they access and then rank or index your website. Number 2, so content that people can see is really important. You have to build your website for people. At the beginning of the internet, people were trying to game, search, and for a long time, people were doing it by sort of loading up keywords or loading up kind of content that would make it show up in a search result, and it wasn't a good user experience. So search engines know when the content you're offering through your website corresponds to what people are looking for, and when they have a positive experience. They know how long people spend on the site. They know when they click from page to page. They know when they achieve a certain goal, like complete a purchase or sign up for a newsletter, etc. So good content, strong content, and then headlines that correspond to that content is going to be great. So keyword optimized content, while you don't want to just have a paragraph on your homepage that repeats, your brand name or like what people would be searching for over and over, it is important to have that in there. So if you are saying, a sweet, salty popcorn vegan snack, it's probably important that you have those words in, prominently in your site, but in a way that's real, in a way that is real readable content to a user. Great user experience. This goes back exactly to Amy's presentation. A website, again, innovation is great, but the most important thing is that people can use it. People can find what they're looking for. This is where we say, like, I can be such a bummer to our creative team, because I'll say, we get, this headline is really funny or like really cute, but like, it's so witty. It doesn't actually say what we need it to say. It's not saying what it is. So you can still be funny, you can still be witty, you can still be creative, but you do have to be somewhat direct when you're writing for the website. Yes, linking in to your site from outside places. So from news articles, from partners, from social media, which we'll get into later, helps build quality traffic, which again is like page views, time on site, etc. And search engines see that and they really like it. I'm gonna throw this back over to Amy now that we're getting a little bit more technical.
Yeah, our last 2 bullet points, meta content and schema markup. You definitely don't need to know exactly what these mean. These 2 items are sort of typically built into your platform, whatever you choose. There are ways that you can help it along, but it's basically just content, it's tags in the code of your website that helps Google or Pinterest or Facebook find relevant content for sharing and for displaying the right information. For instance, schema markup, like if you've been on Pinterest and you've searched for recipes, you can pull out some of those ingredients right away. That's something that schema does. So there's a lot more of those that John or I can get really nerdy about how they work, but we will leave it high level for now. So even just a few of those things, if you can cover off, think about your content, think about your headlines, doing them well will be an advantage to you. Doing all of them over time will be even stronger advantage for you. The SEO is not a set it and forget it thing. It is continuously going. And this, you can see this kind of in your analytics too. You'll be able to see it with your usability testing. You'll be able to see it with your audience that engages with you, your mailing list that grows. So it keeps going, and you can keep adjusting your website or your content to suit whatever you need to add to your site. Keep monitoring your performance. I already said that side. So we've got a couple tools here that you can use. They're really easy, free, quick ways to see how you're doing in search at a glance. So, SEO sitecheckup.com. All you do is drop in your URL. We've got a sample here. We're picking on Surly Brewing first. They are doing outstanding, 92 out of 100. That's a really great score. Even though they do have some of those failed checks that we've got highlighted here, you know, they've got a lot of loyalty. Obviously, they're a bigger, loyal, local brand. People are probably coming to their website repeatedly. That's boosting their SEO. So they don't necessarily, I mean, they should check these failed checks as well, just to boost it even more, but they already have a lot of engagement and good meta content you can see here too. This next tool, sitecheckerpro.com. We picked on Indeed Brewing for this one. 73 out of 100, that's okay. We typically kind of go for a score over 80. And if I wonder, like, even if they look at a couple of these critical errors and fix those things, if that would boost them. You know, Indeed, I know they're maybe a little bit smaller than Surly, but as they grow too, and as their loyalty grows, I'm sure their score will raise organically as well. So, but the great thing about these two tools, you can click into these buttons or these toggles. It'll tell you exactly what you need to fix. Some of them make sense to humans. Some of them you need a development partner for, and that's, you know, fine, but this is ongoing. You can keep looking at these things over and over and over. So there's a bunch of resources on this slide too. Take a screenshot. This will be in the recording, of course. I don't know if we'll get to follow up after the presentation with this, but yeah, all of these would be great to look depending on your platform that you're using. And of course, you can just Google on the last slide, how to optimize your platform for SEO. Just go on a search engine of your choice, type in those words, and you'll probably find lots of content too.
Okay, social media. Okay, now we're gonna talk about something super fun, maybe. I think social can be super fun. As we all know, it can be also a bit of a hot mess. So for the purposes of trying to touch on a lot of things here, we're going broad and not particularly deep. So I'll just repeat again, you know, we can follow up in Q&A. We have some resources to look at, you know, happy to talk further with anyone if they have questions. If there's something I don't know, I will tell you I don't know, but maybe suggest where you might be able to find the answer. And I'm talking, but Amy is driving, so forgive me if there's a little bit of a, you know, jump around in slides. Next slide, please. Okay, so essentially how I would define social media for a brand is platforms where your customers already are and where you can connect with them. Social media, as we know, is not homogeneous. Social media, we're talking about a number of different platforms. It's like talking about e-commerce, right? There's a bunch of different things. But being active on social, having some sort of positive presence on some social platforms or even on a social platform can positively contribute to search rankings and to your overall digital footprint. We talked about this a little bit before about how just that positive digital engagement with your customer, with your consumer, just kind of helps your brand online overall. If I had to kind of summarize what I know about social and what I would say about social for a company or for a brand, and I've been working in mostly consumer social for the better part of 10, 12 years. So do one thing well rather than many poorly. You know, we've had a lot of clients who were, let's say a B2B food production client who this is a real example, came to us some years ago. It was like, I've been hearing a lot about Snapchat. Don't we need a Snapchat? And we're like, well, why would you want to do a Snapchat? just because something is trendy or exciting doesn't mean you need to be on it. I would start with what you have capacity for, what you have time for, and try to maximize that before expanding into others. Checking in regularly, similar to SEO. This is not like something you want to spend 8 hours one day a month on and then don't check in till next month. Try to spend 15 minutes a day on. It's amazing what you can do as far as like customer service directly to consumers via social channels, but a little bit a day. That being said, don't worry about it, especially if you're like a 1 or 2 person operation. If you don't get a message back within an hour, Facebook is gonna like tell you that you're doing it wrong, but you're not, you're fine. So, and then also consider paid. These social media platforms are all money-making, you know, ventures. So they want you to spend money on them. So they make it pretty easy, and they offer a lot of tools. Oh my God.
Who's got a landline anymore?
Parents' house. I'm so sorry. I thought I unplugged that. Fun of Zoom. So, where was I? Oh yeah. So try to do paid. They'll help you. They offer a lot of nice tools, and it's very scalable. You can start really, really slow, really small, and test and learn and see it as you go for just about any platform you want to be on. Okay. I will say it is important to keep in mind that a brand, a product on social media is different than a person. So have a business page, have a business profile. Don't think you should just turn your personal profile into the business profile. Have some distinction between the two. That being said, if there is a profile that you have used a lot as a person, as an individual, and you're really comfortable with how it works, that will probably translate well into using it as a business. So feel free to start there. So I know we're talking a lot about e-commerce today. What we did for this presentation, for the sake of keeping it really high level, is really focused more on like the engagement, high level engagement pieces of social. All of these platforms, or most of these platforms, have some sort of e-commerce connection, e-commerce tie-in. We're not getting into the details on that. We're talking about high-level information on platforms and focusing again on engagement, awareness, loyalty. There's a lot of data that shows that a brand that comes out and sells really hard right away on social is not viewed super favorably. It doesn't tend to be super successful in general with consumers. So, you know, think of it as a little bit of a relationship building tool. Have your customers get to know what you have to offer. Have your customers get to know you as a company or as a team behind the company. And eventually, you know, that can beget dollars. Okay, so all of these things considered, where do you start? This is just a, you know, a brief look at some of the social media platforms. We're gonna go through really quickly, talk high level about some of these platforms and about why you might wanna use them. To decide where you wanna be if you're not on social already, or if you wanna know where to focus, I would start with who your audience is. If you know that it's, you know, your customer tends to be women between the ages of 20 and 40, and that might be a good place to start, for example. So let's dive in, starting with Facebook, because, you know, Facebook. I do want to say something before we get into the details. Social, like I said, can be a bit of a hot mess, right? It's been around for a long time. It could be this great democratic place, but they are businesses. So where we are right now, there's a lot of valid concerns, specifically around Facebook. And of course, then they own Instagram. So Instagram is part of that, about how they're managing people's privacy, managing people's personal information, and regulating hate speech. Like I said, those are valid concerns. From a management perspective in the background, like we're seeing kind of how things are shifting on these platforms day to day, everything from kind of how consumers are using them to what they're charging from, like if you're trying to do ads on these platforms, like what they say, how many dollars you need to get 1,000 impressions on something. Like, it is changing so fast and all over the place. So especially right now, we're deep into election season. This isn't going to calm down anytime soon. Election season with COVID and everything. So I will just say, just stay thoughtful, stay vigilant, just pay attention. And that's just kind of a caveat for anything that we talk about. Facebook, while there's a lot of buzz around like Facebook is my grandmother's platform, Facebook is still massive. It's kind of too big to go anywhere right now. It becomes such an integral part of so many of our lives. It's embedded in so much of our online activity. 69% of US adults use Facebook, and most of them use it every day. So it's truly, obviously evolved from kind of a true social networking site to more of a feed, a news feed, a product feed, a business feed. Teen use is in decline, and it's really the older set, 65 plus has been the group that's usage has risen dramatically. I think we will see the audience evolve, continue to evolve, but it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It also has a very, very savvy ad management platform attached to it. So Instagram, of course, is owned by Facebook, but does operate somewhat, independently, and it is a much different experience. Instagram really exists on the mobile device. It's one kind of image at a time as you scroll. And it really has turned into, it's obviously super visual. People really are open to learning about brands and products on Instagram. 62% of people say they have become more interested in a brand or product after seeing it on Instagram stories specifically. And it is still a platform that you can leverage as a brand without really kind of needing to pay to play. Tracking hashtags, like going on as your brand and engaging with people, and just sort of using the investment of time can still be really valuable on this particular platform. Let's go on to the next one, Pinterest. So Pinterest, I love Pinterest. It is not a social media platform. It is truly a search engine. So if you think about, with most of like Facebook and Instagram, for example, you're scrolling through, sometimes mindlessly, sometimes you're spending too much time doing it. Pinterest tends to be a problem-solving platform. So people are searching with purpose. They're typing something in, chicken recipe for dinner, farmer's market, recipes, something like this. So think about that when you're using Pinterest to serve up content to people. And it's been a kind of steadily growing platform. And it's 80% of US mothers who use the internet are using Pinterest. So that's a pretty significant group. And it's not as old as I think some people might think. The median age is 40, and half of the millennials are using it every month. Next one, YouTube. So YouTube is another search engine. YouTube, of course, is owned by Google. Again, really not a social media network, although you can comment. It is more of a search engine. Completely guided by content, however. If you have video content, think about getting on YouTube. If you don't, then there's no good reason to be on. Sorry. I don't know how landlines work anymore, so I have no idea how to silence this. So YouTube is huge. It's second most preferred platform for watching video on TV screens among this younger set, 18 to 34-year-olds, and that's after Netflix. And of course, you can't see ads on Netflix. So YouTube is huge. 90% of shoppers have discovered a brand or a product. So this is a huge play for search. But again, completely dictated by content. Video content, if you have it, put it up there with good titles and tags and descriptions, and it'll be great for you. The next one is TikTok, which you guys have probably heard about it, even though you don't know what it is. Maybe because the president tweeted that he was going to ban it, which it can't really happen, but TikTok. Anyway, it is huge with the younger set. It is, I wanted to put it in here because there are some advertising opportunities. And if your product is super relevant to teens or people in their 20s, you should pay attention to TikTok, because I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. The content can be really like lo-fi and really interesting. A colleague, a 25-year-old colleague, shared a Chipotle TikTok video with me last night, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. Why can't I do this? Because I'm, basically 40 probably. But anyway, just, pay attention to TikTok. Next one, Twitter. I couldn't not mention Twitter. Twitter, a place where everyone can shout. Twitter is a news feed, essentially. I would not necessarily recommend it for a brand unless you have a lot of time that you can spend on Twitter. There are some valid uses, track hashtags, engage, if there's a big PR thing going on. Usage is in decline. It's a news feed, test it out. It takes a lot of time and energy. So, keep that in mind. Okay. I think that was the summaries we're gonna have. Paid, like I said, all of these platforms have paid options. They can be really scalable. You can spend very little money. It really is more about what time and effort, like what capacity do you have from a time and a budget standpoint to invest in these. Again, you can start small and see how it goes. Test and learn is kind of the name of the game here. The next slide, we talk about, so community management, just a few basics. Have business profiles, not personal ones. Slow and steady is kind of the name of the game here. Try to get to comments and messages quickly. Don't worry if you can't get to them right away. And if someone is being disrespectful or inappropriate, feel free to, depending on what it is, move it into private direct message or block. Consider not deleting negative or critical comments, apologize when something goes wrong, follow up, and then proactively engage. And here's some resources, and we'll send these out.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. If anybody does have questions, we're going to ask you to put them in the chat as I want to get moving along. So if Amy, you can stop screen sharing, I think Ariel will jump in. And we have 4 founders online with us today. The first is Brady Barnstable from 7 Sundays. And I know they have done a ton of work in this space and we'll have a lot of good insights to share. So Brady, I'm going to have you take it away.
All right, thanks, Allison. I'm going to assume everybody can hear me and stop me if you can't. But 7 Sundays was founded in 2011 as a kind of a traditional food business. So we started in a farmer's market. We kind of grew up in the co-op scene and into Lunds and Byerly's, kind of in the regional grocery channel. Based in Minneapolis, we make muesli cereals. If you're not familiar, can go to our website, 7sundays.com, although I'm a little bit nervous now with all this SEO and homepage talk about what our front door looks like, but go ahead and explore if you'd like to, since we're all on our computers. We have a picture of our team up here. I miss them dearly. We're all kind of working remotely right now, which is super sad for us because we have a nice little office in South Minneapolis. We encourage you, once this is all past us, to stop by and say hi. 4 full-time employees, 2 part-time, 2 co-packers, and fulfillment centers that kind of help us with our e-commerce fulfillment that I'll be talking about today. So let me just dive right in and talk about our 2 primary platforms that we use for e-commerce. We've been on this journey, I'd say, since about 2015 is when we launched on Amazon for the first time. And the second one I'll talk about is Shopify, which is where we host our website and sell direct to consumer from our online store. But starting with Amazon, why we chose to invest in Amazon. in 2015. It sort of was at that time, I think, sort of like you felt like we should probably get in and start doing this because it seems like it could really take off. Fast forward to 2020, they're going to be our second biggest customer this year, or they are on track to be. Year-to-date sales are up 200% compared to last year. I like it also because it has unlimited shelf space. As Susan mentioned, you can invest in this knowing that you're not going to get bumped out by some other muesli company or whatever you sell next year. A lot of the retailers we work with kind of work with an opposite model, which is if you're not selling to their expectations, you can give them a free fill and they can bump you the next year in lieu of another competitor. So I like the unlimited shelf space. Feels like a very sound investment. The vendor management seems to be improving since we've joined in 2015. An example of that recently is they eliminated all chargebacks over the last few months when the COVID crises kind of took over, and out of stocks and things like that were affecting every company. They would typically charge us back for that, and they kind of eliminated those chargebacks. So the big scary Amazon beast seems a little bit more vendor friendly than it has in the past of late. The margins are not great for some products, but I think overall across your product portfolio, if you have several products, it can work out to be okay overall, especially compared to some of the other distributors that we work with in the traditional retail space. And I like it as well because it's a very level playing field. So say what you want about Amazon and how they're taking over the world, but the reality is for small food businesses, there's no more level playing field than Amazon because it's all based on product reviews and customer feedback. And I think that gives us a pretty fair ground to work with, particularly against the larger companies with big ad budgets and teams working on it. For us, it's just Molly and I. And our motto we talked about was, what we lack in confidence and experience, we make up for in anxiety-induced productivity. So here's what we have learned. I say that mainly because I want everybody to know on the call, you don't have to be an expert on these platforms. Yes, get help out of the gate. I think that's a smart idea. Susan mentioned that, but you can get in the weeds and do this stuff yourself. I have a background in environmental consulting. I am not an expert in marketing, advertising, digital marketing at all, but for the last 2 years, have run it essentially Amazon that is on my own and sort of learn the ropes. It's becoming more user-friendly every year. You have to get in the weeds though, watch the rankings, watch what your competitors are doing, test ads, and then track the data. Amazon has so much data, and that's so unique in the food space to like have access to this, use it, make tweaks to how you're running your ads. Another thing that we've done is utilize both vendor and seller central, which has helped with inventory issues and pricing issues. I think I saw somebody in the comment mentioning like, why is food like twice the price on Amazon as it is like in a traditional retail store? Well, with seller central, you have control over the price, and you can kind of compete with vendor central in some ways to manage some of the high pricing issues. Keep the content fresh. I think Susan did a good job of describing all of that. Should look like, and then find your niche or your keyword if you can. If your product, like ours, our keyword is muesli. We invest a lot in that word because it's sort of unique. It's a small category. We can spend our advertising dollars wisely using that specific term. So find your niche and really go after it strong. And then send your advertising invoices over to the MDA for reimbursement. There's your plug, Brian, and we will be sending ours in shortly. The other channel we invest in pretty heavily is Shopify. I remember there was a point in our business where we were like, should we even have our own website or should we just go all in on Amazon? And I know businesses that have done both. I'm really glad we stuck it out with Shopify because it's not our biggest customer, but it's one of our fastest growing. Our most loyal fans live here and come to find us. And we're in complete control, as I think others have mentioned, of this channel. I really like it. I really want to stay focused on it. keys to success on this channel, customer experience. Like this is where you have the biggest advantage in my opinion. Have a very user-friendly online shop. We do all of our online fulfillment in-house, so we can kind of customize packages, put in little thank you cards, make it very personal. And I think when people buy directly from your website, that's the experience that they want to have, and that's what you should take advantage of. Build your list, your MailChimp list, whatever you use. This takes the longest, but it's worth it. Keep grinding it out, build that list. Engage consistently. This takes a lot of heavy lifting with content. Thank you, Molly. She does our weekly emails. And try to touch base, even though it's somewhat painful to do. It feels like you're bugging people. Most still do want to hear from you, and offer a discount code, not too frequently, but just kind of keep them looking for that discount in their mailbox on a weekly basis. And then I think customer retention is really important on your website. So be responsive, be transparent, have good return policies. We actually have a link to our Amazon store right in Shopify to give people the option. And we just added that recently. It doesn't seem to be affecting Shopify sales too dramatically. And if nothing else, I think it's boosting Amazon. I just wanted to mention, I think I'm over time already, but other e-com opportunities we've sort of lucked into or found of late. Hungry Root, which is sort of a basket, or kind of a food prep grocery box that's delivered to people's homes. Public Goods, another one we do some private label muesli for. Thrive Market, we have not really entered into, but I've heard it's very good, and Walmart.com. Yeah, again, use MDA for this. This is an amazing opportunity. I've spent a lot on Amazon ads, particularly in March and April. It's become less successful throughout the summer. Seem like I'm spending more for less sales, so I'm kind of backing off a little bit. So spend it wisely, but utilize it for ads, use it for new product photography, and it will be extremely helpful to our business. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Allison, for having me.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Brady. I think a lot of helpful tidbits in there as people think about what they've heard from today and what to employ. With that, we're going to move on to our next entrepreneur we have on here, which I believe is Bella from Coconut Whisk. So I know also for everyone listening in, we are almost at time. However, I believe the entrepreneurs are able to stay on for a few minutes to make sure they can actually share their experiences with you or answer questions as well from the presenters. So we will not be shutting down at 1 o'clock. So please feel free to stay on the line, and we would love to get through everyone and share their experiences. So a lot to take in, but all very worthwhile content. So Bella, I'll let you take it away.
Cool, thanks so much. I'll keep this short and sweet. Thanks, Allison and Brian, for inviting me here today. So I'm Bella, founder of Coconut Whisk. We're a mission-driven vegan and gluten-free baking mix company. And with every single purchase, we donate a plant-based meal. I also have my co-founder, Miles, on the line. So I think he's going to jump in.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm Miles. So I'm the other partner for Coconut Whisk here. We've been in business for 2.5 years. We launched initially on Shopify and have been tweaking and optimizing the website ever since. We have worked with Brian and continue to work with Brian and MDA with the Cost Zero program and have had great experiences with that. So if you have any questions, let me know. We also work with Indie Do Good. We signed with them a couple of weeks ago and it's been amazing. And also with Nearest You as well. So just a little quick thing about me, my specialty is with e-commerce is on the technical side of things. So I specialize with like web design flow, maximizing conversion rate, raising your average order value, optimizing your product pages, cheap and effective marketing, such as like SMS, upsells, and pop-ups, and effective ways to ship. Yeah, so that's about it for me.
Yeah, and so we're always happy to like talk to other founders, because when we started, we didn't know anything, and just being in business, we've been able to learn a lot. So we're happy to share our knowledge wherever we can. So a few things that we use for Coconut Whisk. So we've been really big on e-commerce since we started in 2018. And of course we have our website, coconutwhisk.com. And that's where we get, you know, like 50% of our revenue comes from that, or 60% actually, since COVID happened. And we also started using marketplaces. So we use Faire.com and Abound. And for those, you obviously lose some data and a bit of your margin, but we think it's so worth it because you're still getting orders, you're still getting a new set of eyes, you're still partnering with other small boutique retailers. So those have been really helpful. We haven't done a lot on Amazon yet, but that's something that's on our to-do list, and we're hoping to get into that in the near future. And like Brady said, emails are so worth it because even though we're really active on Instagram, and that's really where our community was built and where we love being on, we know that if tomorrow Instagram goes away, we have to have another backup plan. And we know that email list, that's the one thing you can always have, and that's your asset, right? So that's something that's yours. And so you wanna make sure you're nurturing it. So we invest in that. Influencer marketing. So since we're really active on Instagram, we found that influencer marketing is really helpful. So when we did a campaign last year called The Elite Bakers. And so essentially it's kind of like a PR thing where we got to create these relationships with these mega influencers, and we were able to do it at a really low cost because I really did the work with building that relationship with them first. So we didn't have to do a big contract or anything. It was just very organic, and they just shared about our products. And that's really how we got our name out there and got really known in the vegan sphere. And then recently we started an affiliate program called the Coconut Ambassadors, and pretty much they're just your brand evangelist, and they help you, they promote your brand, and then they also get a kickback when a customer uses their referral link. So that's been really cool. And we have a Facebook page, a Facebook group, and then we also give them discounts and certain perks, and it's just really fun because it's a really genuine, really active community, and we're just loving that. So yeah, that's really our basic for our marketing and sales on e-commerce. And so we love working with MBA, we love working with Grow North, and so I'm happy to answer more questions, and thank you so much for inviting me on, Allison and Brian.
Awesome, thanks so much, Belle and Miles. All right, we are going to move on to Junita from Junita's Jar, and she's going to share her journey.
Thanks, Allison. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You're good to go.
So I am one of those reluctant e-commerce users. Like 80% of my business was B2B, and so when slowly starting to build it, but then when COVID hit, we had to make a drastic shift. And I've always been kind of a relationship thing. And because my business, Junita's Jar, is a cookie company, but it's a mission-driven cookie company. It's all about getting people to engage with our product, ultimately creating conversation opportunities to reduce the occurrence of relationship violence against women. So it's like I'm building these two businesses that don't have a direct link. So it's been a high touch business of educating people about what we do, because we don't want people just to try our cookies and then not know our mission. So everything about what I've done online has been sort of that relationship building, but it's been through our email list. Like the amount of engagement and traffic that we're able to drive from our email list has been phenomenal. So that's kind of where I spend all of my time. And then also, because we partner heavily with college students, we actually host conversation sessions with college students. We have an ambassador program with college sororities. And so they represent our product on campus. That drives traffic because that is our ultimate demographic, are the college students. And so building those relationships, and now they're able to take those relationships and they're bringing it online, allowing us to build our reputation on our website as well. The other piece is, really staying true to what makes your brand unique, what problem you solve, and what emotions you improve, and then using that in your email letters, your social media, and then also making the ask. Like, that's been huge for us. I know it sounds simple, but sometimes we're communicating, whether it's on social or whether it's on our email list or in person, and we don't always close the sale with the ask. So in every communication that you're making where it's appropriate.
Numbers important too, because SMS marketing.
Oh, I think Junita froze.
Okay, am I back?
You're back.
Okay, so that was the last point. I don't know what happened. But making the ask, and usually it's the upsell ask. And going back to my email list, that the biggest thing is getting people to purchase our subscription box. And just kind of doing the A/B testing, when we mention it but don't make the ask, they'll always go ahead and buy just the one time off. But every time we go back and we make the ask, about 80% of our customers will opt in for our subscription box. So that's been a big one for us. So those are my pieces. We're out of time, so that was it.
Thanks, Junita. I think very, one of the themes I'm hearing is really nurturing that listserv that you have and digging into, your core users. I think that's probably true for any brand of know the core people. And if you can get some fringe, great, but keep that group happy. All right. Last but not least, we have Valerie from Grass-Fed Cattle Co. And she's going to talk about her experience with Barn to Door and else.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I also agree, Tom. I want cookies now. Sounds so good after hearing you talk about it. But my husband, Jared, and I own the Grass-Fed Cattle Company. We purchased it from another couple about a year and a half ago and switched to Barn to Door from Shopify, where our website was hosted before. Shortly after buying it from the other couple, and have absolutely loved it. So I am just here to tell you about our experience with that and some things that have worked for us as we have learned along the way, had some bumps and everything, as everybody, I think anyway, does when they are starting out a business and just learning all the things that we have learned in the last year and a half. So with that, I will tell you a little bit about the Grass-Fed Cattle Company and then our experience with Barn to Door. So we farm with Jared's dad outside of Red Wing, Minnesota, so about an hour southeast of the Twin Cities. And we raise grass-fed beef, pastured chicken, and then we have a couple other farmers we work with too that also raise grass-fed beef and pastured pork. So we direct market everything that we produce on our farm, and we sell primarily to people in the Twin Cities. We offer pickup. We have an Edina location that we're at a couple times a week where people come to pick up their boxes. I get to talk to each one of them and tell them about our farm, which is one of the highlights of owning our business to me. And then we also offer delivery and shipping anywhere in the Twin Cities and some of the surrounding states. So we are on Barn to Door because they love farmers and they have great customer service, which is one of the experiences we didn't love with Shopify. Just we're struggling with trying to add some features we wanted, and so they actually reached out at the perfect time that we decided to move our website with them. And so we really were able to transition it fairly quickly and pretty easily, and just love some of the features that they provide for us, like those options of having the in-person pickups, making the scheduling behind that, and packaging the boxes, which I'm doing all myself still, really simple and much less time consuming than what we previously were experiencing. It's been great to have all those features of delivery and shipping already set up, because in February, March, we got hit really hard, and it was kind of a wild ride for us, trying to keep all of our inventory in line and get all of the orders filled. But definitely we're so thankful for all the support during COVID, and that just continues right now. So we're trying to get a lot of things back up in stock, but you can't just make a chicken or a steer grow quickly, so we have to be patient with that. But we are still loving those three features. The customer service, like I said, is just such a big sigh of relief that allows me to do a lot of the marketing things that we've covered today. Still learning, for sure, and I think our website still has some work we can do on it as well, but has really allowed me to focus on the marketing side of it, with them taking care of answering the simple questions customers have with their chat feature, making that shopping experience really simple, and giving us space to explain our products, explain how pickups work, freezer space, all those kind of things. So we just love them and what they provide for us. The monthly calls we have with our manager at Barn to Door and the feedback she gives us and advice on all the things we covered. Try to work on a little something every month to get better. We are on social media. We use MailChimp as well. Would echo that if that's not your focus, definitely do that and keep up with your customers because they do read them, even though sometimes it feels like you're talking to a wall. With those, people do read them, and it's so fun for me to meet our customers and hear that they're reading them, taking them in, using our discount codes, and really loving our content, which we try to do kind of a 2/3 kind of added value content, recipes about our farm, why we farm the way we do, and then 1/3 asking for a sale. So I hope that helps understand a little bit more about what Barn to Door offers and how they've really helped us grow our sales and just our reach through Grass-Fed Cattle Company. So appreciate having the chance to share that with all of you, and would be more than happy to answer questions, or if you know a farm that's looking for somewhere to host their website. I get lots of people asking me questions about it and how I've liked it, so I am always happy to answer those questions as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Valerie. I know we are way over time now, but if you do have a question, next 5 minutes, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, as we kind of end today, we will send out the link, all this information, so people have access to it. And we might also send out a little bit of a poll. During Food Ag Ideas Week, which will be happening the first week of December this year, we will have an Entrepreneur Education Day. And one of the topics is e-commerce. And so we'd be looking to do essentially a 2.0 or a more specific focused workshop type event where people can really dig in and figure out what things they need to do there. Additionally, we will be having a sustainable packaging event the first week of October. So stay tuned for that. And we have a lot of great speakers and some good content there. So we'll really be diving into, when and how making that decision is important. Sometimes it seems easy, but really it should be taken with great care to make a more sustainable packaging event. Otherwise, we will send all that information out. But thank you so much for joining today. Again, if you have questions, please ask in the chat. We'll stay on for the next few minutes. Otherwise, thank you to all of our partners and presenters and speakers today. Wonderful content and very helpful. I think a lot of people have gotten a lot of inspiration and are ready to hit the ground running. So thank you so much.